People crashing into each other.
Or
not here, but in other places.
Or threatening to. That was very much off air and will remain so. However, we did miss the rundown at the bottom of the hour, didn't we? Again, we're not really very good for that, are we?
We get so engrossed, don't we, in what we're doing and what we're talking.
So I'll give you the top 3 in each class. Let's do
that clock at the top should flash, I think, or change colour at 1/2 every hour, just to sort of trigger us.
So here we go. So your overall leader and overall elite class leader as well is Red Racing. 18.6 seconds clear of the 43 of MS Soco Select. Another 2 laps down now to MS JSR, the 111. That's your top 3 on the road and your top 3 in elite. Top 3 in pro is MS Kart's number 11. 77 of Offline Motorsport and 115 Team Keen. So MS Karts are 5 laps in front of Offline Motorsport. Team Keen firing up behind Offline Motorsport at a second a lap currently. 13.4 seconds behind and coming up very, very quickly. Then we have in Clubman 303, our leading Clubman class from Rye House Bandits by 50.2 seconds. 303 have just pitted. Rye House Bandits owe us a stop in the next 5 to 6 minutes, so expect that gap to go back out. Third place is the 6 of Modernised Racing. They are about a lap and a half behind Rye House. Moving down to the higher class, we have Kart Events Belgium are currently 19th overall, leading the higher class. They're the only one in your timing column on the left-hand side with the black number that designates them as higher class. So, yellow numbers elite, red numbers pro, blue numbers clubman, black numbers, or black background should I say, is a higher. They're your leaders in higher, 19th overall. Second place in higher, 22nd overall, is Team Exceeding Track Limits. And in third place, 23rd overall, is kartevents.be2. They have worked their way slowly back up the field. Been there or thereabouts for most of the race and slowly gaining. A66 had a monster climb back up the field after leading the Clubman. There they are, just flashing through the screen. They led the higher class in the first hour, then had a bit of a disaster, and then very quickly climbed their way back through as everybody else fell apart around them, and managed to get themselves back into the top 3. They've now been overhauled by Kart Events Belgium 2 for the final place on the higher class podium. But anything can happen. There's still 4 hours and 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, very tight in that one. We expect MS Soco Select into the pit lane shortly. Some very close battles though, Tom, still down there in the higher class. Hopeless Disaster in 43rd. Race for Ruben only 3 seconds behind them. They're on a bit of a recovery drive.
They're flying now as well. At 1 minute, yeah, 1 minute 20.5. They're only 3.2 seconds behind. So that's for 43rd overall. Big shout to the EDKT 2014. Oh, and we've got...
That's the 47. That's Team Solon facing the wrong way at the chicane section, and they're going to have to wait patiently
for a gap, and I think they... Oh no, they are going to keep waiting.
They've got a problem. In fact, I think they're stuck, Tom. I think they're going to require a push from the marshal, I think, or have they got an engine down? Nope, they're getting pulled back because he doesn't want to go up and over the bumpy curb. So the 47 of Team Solon are now back on track. They've lost around 40 to 45 seconds. And that kart is going to require its tyres cleaning off as it's picked up some grass.
So Race for Ruben are about to take 43rd overall, if they haven't already. They crossed the line 0.1 behind Hopeless Disaster. They're then going to have to climb 3 more laps on BTM UK2. So 3 laps to get 42nd overall.
So still some really, really close battles. There's 3 karts there, Tom, that are on the same lap hand there at the bottom, somewhere further down. I was looking down here. Those are as well. Look at them.
We've got a nice battle here. Probably about 2 laps between them overall, but it's 31st down to 37th. They are separated by, probably a lap and a half, maybe, between those guys.
Eight karts there with only a lap and a half between them.
Century Sim Racing just taking over 30th place. In fact, all of this battle is to climb into the top 30 overall, which would put them,
I mean, how many karts?
Around about 10th in class.
There's 8 karts, all on 100 laps down on the leader.
Yes.
That's phenomenal.
So that will put them, let me just have a quick count out, David. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It is, in fact, the battle for 10th in class. So to make the top 10 in class, it's Century Sim Racing, Team Tate, G3 Pro, Euro Bandits Motorsport, JS Racing, SKA Racing and SRW Racing, all fighting to get into the top 10 in hires. And fighting hard, it looks like. Some quick laps going in as well. JS Racing putting in 120.5. Core Blimey Racing putting in a 120.3. 30 seconds behind SRW. So it's hotting up for the top 10. Everybody on the same lap in those 8, as David pointed out. And with about a minute and a half to go, I should probably do my sign-off, really, shouldn't I? For my final commentary stint of the British 24 Hours 2020. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here. As I said during commentary, I wouldn't be anywhere else this weekend. They offered me a free trip to Mauritius for 4 days, and I would still rather be here.
Might test your resolve on that one next year, Tom.
That's fine. You pay the wages. I wouldn't be anywhere else. It's by far the best event in motorsport that I go to, and I go to many good events. It's just a pleasure to be here, a pleasure to be around everybody. There's so many people who are so nice and just chatty and respectful to each other, not just on circuit but off circuit as well. There is never ever any trouble, is there?
No, I mean,
that we see in sort of sprint racing and things like that, where things get overly competitive. As the 43 dives into the pits in front of me, that's Paul Wilkins getting out. Who have we got getting in? It's Dave Robinson.
Mr. Robinson.
So Dave Robinson about to get in for the final 4 hours. But yes, it's who's that? The 47.
Yeah, it looked like they were going slow with their arm in the air, but they seem to be carrying on.
So it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Hopefully we will be, I will be back next year with you, and possibly driving again, possibly not. We shall see how things shake out. But thank you very much for having me. Hope you enjoy the final 4 hours. I will hand you over to Andrew Mather and the Double Dash Motorsport Media crew. Yeah, thanks very much. If you're still in the paddock and you see me wandering about, come and say hello.
Tom Butterworth there, bringing a close to his commentary duties. We thank Tom, as always, for his expert knowledge, humour and all-round niceties in his commentary stint. He's just off for a team meeting, I believe, with the piston broke outfit. We may well see Tom out on track later, depending on how the team want to play things, but Tom pulling double duties this weekend, 12 hours in the commentary box and some on-track action with the piston broke outfit. And once again, Team Solon are having some problems, and he's gesturing to somebody up on the bank there, which is the camping area, that he's got some problems and probably wants to pit. And on that note, we welcome Andrew Mather back to the commentary box. It was only 20 minutes ago you left, wasn't it?
It feels like it. I've had a very quick power nap, a couple of mini oranges, and I'm ready to go for the last 4 hours.
Well, I'm going to have my own mini orange, and by that I mean it's covered in a cakey substance with chocolate on top, known as a Jaffa.
Getting 5 a day in.
Tackle one of those.
I tell you what's interesting, when I left the comms box, what was it, about 90 minutes ago, we were talking about MS SoCo Select needing to save a bit of fuel to make sure that they didn't have to do a splash and dash, and looks like they've pretty much done it. Pitting bang on 4 hours to go means they can tackle this last part of the race with 2 stops more, splitting it into 3 sections of 1 hour 20, and that will get them home. Now, will it get them home in the lead? Will it get them home in second place? At the moment, it's still advantage to Red Racing. Yeah, who I think similarly, unless I'm mistaken, have still got. They're still on schedule to do another 2 stops as well, or they will have the possibility of short fueling on the last stop. The 47 continuing to have some conversations, shall we say, with the team up on the bank there. Clearly not happy, and I just wonder if it's a driver who's maybe at the end of. Yeah, I'm getting the sense that that's a driver who has
running on empty.
Yeah, running on empty, and this is a horrible position to be in, especially if the whole team's a bit tired and they themselves maybe have switched off. Howard was talking earlier about times when he's been left out on circuit. It can happen, and that is the sign of a driver doing that. There's nothing really you can do apart from just soldier on.
Yeah, just keep
try not getting anybody's way
until you're called in. And as you mentioned, Red Racing have currently done 1 pit stop less than MS SoCo Select. When they come into the pits in around 20 to 25 minutes time, they will both then be evenly matched on 15 and will require 2 further stops for fuel. MS SoCo Select will be able to go to the end on 2 full fuel tanks, whereas Red Racing will come in this time. They will get at least 1 full fuel tank and then maybe a splash and dash, and it's whether they do that with half an hour to go or an hour to go and then run to the end with the fuel window. Be interesting to see how that pans out. We now have a wait of around 25 minutes for Red Racing to come in. The gap at the time when SoCo Select came into the pits was 18 seconds. We will now wait and see what the gap is like. They've got Dave Robinson in, one of their quickest drivers in the MS SoCo Select. Wait to see what the gap is like. And, very little between those 2 teams. We've mentioned numerous times how last year the gap was 25 seconds at the end of the race, and that's Neil Press then in that Team Solon Kart. It's been having some problems. It's a different driver now, and that certainly looks like it. So maybe they've pitted for a fresh man. They have. Neil Solon takes over the wheel.
A couple of other pit stops to let you know about. Team Backmarker are in on schedule, so they'll have another 2 more pit stops after this one. Same for PGS Racing in 8th place overall, 4th in Pro, and I really feel sorry for the PGS guys. You know, that they've kind of been one of those stories that we see every year. Ran pretty much a perfect race, but they had that one issue in the wee hours of the morning which lost them 9 laps. At the moment, it's costing them a spot on the overall podium. Sorry, not on the overall podium, on the class podium. What else is interesting as well, I just noted, I was coming back in, that Offline Motorsport still continue to do this great strategy. Now in second place in the class. They were down in fourth, say about 4 or 5 hours ago, when they started to increase the pace as their rivals in that class started to falter. At the moment, the only one of their rivals that hasn't faltered is the number 11 of MS Karts, still out ahead by some 6 laps.
Yeah, so Offline Motorsports, we questioned in the middle of the night whether it was the right strategy call to play the long game. It's come to them in the end to look after the kart, save as much fuel as they can. They've done 3 pit stops less than anybody else in that class. 5 less than the 2 karts, at least one of the karts behind them. And they maintain a gap for second place of just under 8 seconds. It's coming down by 2/10 a lap to Team Keen, but there is every chance that Offline, doing an extra 20 minutes a stint, are only going to need to pit 2 times, whereas potentially Team Keen might need 3.
There's Greg Barnard in the blue suit, navy blue suit, driving this year for Team Backmarker. Part of a team that I think will take a lot of positives from this race in terms of how they've run as a team. The kart hasn't quite had the pace there, but they'll have taken a lot of experience from this race. They've got a lot of experience in terms of drivers in there, but we know, talking to Rob Newman earlier, this was his first time at this event. The team with Murray Adams, Sam Cobb and Jess Alexander in. It's obviously, we've seen Jess race here many times. This is kind of the first time for all of them up in the owner class.
Yeah, they had problems early on. In the first hour, they had an engine change, which put them well down the field. They came back through all the clubman cars and then stopped pretty much at the pro class. Now, normally that kart is run as a 2-kart team in the BPEC 6-hour series with Jess Alexander and Murray Adams normally piloting that one, with occasionally a 3rd driver coming in depending on the circuit. So currently down in 9th place, and they've been in that position for 10 to 12 hours now, having come back through the clubman class. Behind them is the 111 of MS JSR, and that has got Jack Grinsell on board. 2017 PFI Pro Kart champion, going round South Bank, currently in 3rd place. I think they'll be on the same lap as MS SoCo Select, but around about half a lap down. SoCo Select have already come over start finish, so they should go down to +1 as Grinsell comes over the line. Red Racing, though, well on their way to clearing the 1,000. They are just about to go to the 1 hour mark with Adam Willis at the wheel of that kart.
Just caught a quick sight there of the 303. The Polish team, who have got to be one of the contenders for team of the race. This has been by far the strongest display that they've given here at the British 24-hour. They are leading in class by a clear lap now as well, ahead of the Rye House Bandits. It's still pretty much this top 3 of 303, Rye House Bandits, Modernised Racing, all within a mechanical problem of each other, and all on relatively similar strategies as well. So 303 Racing last pitted 17 minutes ago. Rye House Bandits pitted 9 minutes ago. Modernised pitted 15 minutes ago. So especially 303 and Modernised take care of their fuel, they should only need to pit another 2 times. Ryehouse definitely will only need to pit another 2 times. Really good to see this 61 back out as well. Danny Palazzo currently driving for Alessia. This was the kart that had the big, I don't know if you saw the pictures, David, the big substantial damage to the rear axle where they lost both engines after they got ploughed into the rear by one of the hire karts down at Rib Bend, but they've completely rebuilt the back end of that 61 kart, got it back out there, and it looks to be running pretty well.
Yeah, credit to the team for persisting. A lot of teams I think might have just packed that one up as a bad job, but Alessia, not for the first time appearing here at the British 24-hour common sight at this annual event, currently running down in 71st, but running nonetheless, still a little bit off the pace, so I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that car is perfect, but it is running, and that is wonderful to see.
Modernised karting, this is the second one of the modernised karts, has just been in for a pit stop. Nice short pit stop there. 1 minute 42 was their pit affected first sector, so that's going to keep them in 15th place. They seem to have won out in this battle with the Frosterly in. We saw Jake Taplin pull a great move on the Frosterly in. What was it, about 4 hours ago? They are now a lap clear of the number 19, and it looks like DW Racing will actually hop themselves in that gap as well. Tom Murray then driving for Offline Motorsport. You're seeing the black, white and silver number 77 there going up the inside of 303 Racing.
Doesn't look like much fuel saving going on there.
No, they're pushing now. They've got a second place in class to hold on to here, and you never know. Still a lot of running to go here at Teesside. If something happens to that MS Karts number 11, they are going to be in prime position to take a class win here at the 2020 British 24-hour.
Looks like Mr. Pogson, their strategic genius, has turned the screw and wound Tom Murray up. And they are off in pursuit of a podium, trying to keep Team Keen behind them in the 1:15. The gap earlier was 7 seconds. It's down to 6, but they are still matching them nonetheless. And there is Murray threading his way through the higher carts round the outside of one of them, followed as well by the 303.
Just coming up behind the Kart Events Belgium number 6, which is still your leader in the higher class, and just ahead of them as well, a driver that I've not talked about so far on stream. It's Costa Krietsis, the Greek god of speed, racing for Bradley Shepherd Racing, BSR this year, and they've had a solid race as well so far. 27th overall, 98 laps down on the overall lead, a minute and 5 ahead of BTM Racing UK in 28th, and a lap down on Lockwell Hill Karting. So
yeah, they were one of our early shouts to win this.
Yeah.
After we watched them in practice, and they topped the timesheets, the unofficial, untimed practice, although being in the Alpha Live camp, we had access to the timing for that the teams didn't get to see, but they were the fastest in practice. Qualified reasonably well, but had some problems early on in the race that's really thrown them out of contention. But when they have been running, they've been running bang on the pace in the BSR team, with Bradley Shepherd, Costa, Sam Spinell and Ed White in that one. So a strong lineup for the BSR outfit, and I'm sure they will be back next year with aspirations of getting themselves onto the podium.
yeah, absolutely. That's a been a very strong lineup that they've had there. Sam Spinell, obviously we've seen with the KMRS team in previous years, both here at Teesside and at Le Mans as well. Le Mans still to come, of course, this year in the 24-hour karting series, 1 week before the big one, as I like to call it, in September. For more information on that, do check out the 24-hour karting series website. Costa and I think it's Kenneth Nassen is driving for Kart Events Belgium at the moment. And I'm still in awe of this Kart Events Belgium effort, not just from this number 6 kart, but the number 66 as well. If you're just joining us on this Sunday morning and you've not heard the story of this one, as we're having a look at Alex Williams driving in the Hopeless Disaster number 81. 4 drivers across 2 karts in the Kart Events Belgium squad. 4 Belgian guys who've been in the UK for a good couple of weeks, so entered the country before the government's jurisdiction and changes on people entering the country from Belgium occurred. So a lot of their team members either could get across but would have had to go into quarantine, or couldn't get across to the UK at all this weekend. So, you know, for a long time it looked like one of the favourites for the event was going to pull out, but they've persevered through, and at the moment they are still leading the race, and the pace is still good. 1 minute 20.010 last time around for Nassens. I think you'd be very, very hard tried to find a story, a team in this race, David, that doesn't epitomise the essence of endurance more than Kart Events Belgium this year. We know how good they are, we know we've got the speed, but to do this effort with 2 drivers. Yeah, some real grit shown by these teams, and all the way down the grid as well. I think you'll see some teams that have entered this potentially for the first time, and maybe entered it just because they want to do a 24-hour race, and they may have entered with 6 or 7 drivers. I know earlier one team was telling me that they were, at the time, they were down to 3 drivers from 7 at the start, just because a lot of their drivers had never done an hour and a half in a kart before. Yeah. And then when you ask them to do another hour and a half in a kart, and then 4 or 5 hours later you ask them to do another hour and a half in the kart, you know, this is an event you have to work yourself up to. I mean, I've been out of the seat for around about 18 months, as we see CMC potentially having some problems, as we see the Marshall running back. So that, don't worry about the front nose, it's been like that for a long time, but it is shedding gravel. So that one's been off for an excursion down at Rib. But yeah, I was out of the seat for around about 18 months, and was lucky enough to get 20 to 25 minutes in a hire kart here on Friday. And thank you to Mr. Butterworth for the kind offer of that. And I'm not going to lie, I knew about it when I'd finished. Yes. Because you build up muscle groups for different sports and different activities that you do. And in terms of karting, it's a unique set of muscle groups. Your forearms get a workout that you wouldn't normally do. The backs of your shoulders get a workout that you're just not normally used to, as Grab X go wide and over the curb at the D. So to ask some of these drivers to do 4 to 5 hours in a kart when they've got no experience of sort of driving for such a long period of time continuously, it's quite a feat for most of them just to get to the end of this race. Which just makes the Kart Events Belgium effort. I mean, they've just put in a 1:19.1. That's only 0.3 of a second off the best lap time that kart has done for the whole race so far. This is a miracle drive. I do not know how they're doing this. I genuinely do not have the words to describe how wondrous a drive this is, and you've just got to hope now, because they will start to be able to smell the finish line with 3 hours 39 minutes to go. We want midway through this stint and a couple more afterwards. I just want to point out there's going to be a kart coming round hairpin 4 in a few moments and over the start line, and he's got a helmet cover on, I believe. Is the animal on the scene? He does this every year, and basically he looks similar to a bright red cookie monster as Ollie Davis in the Court Blimey Racing CBR outfit in the 113. There we see them coming down the back straight. And the leader is in the pit lane.
So Adam Willis brings the 130.
This is early. This is early. Now, this is probably playing into what we were talking about with the strategy.
They are out already, though. Adam Willis hands over the reins to Adam Nichols, and they are out, and MS SoCo Select are only coming round hairpin 3. So Red Racing are going to hold on to the lead, and as Dave Robinson brings the 43 over the start-finish line, we're going to have to wait another lap to find out what the exact gap is. But the leaders in the 13 are already at hairpin 1. There is half a lap. So I think they've eked the gap out. It was 25 seconds pre-pit stop half an hour ago for MS SoCo Select. And Adam Willis at the wheel. We wait confirmation. But he appears to have had the hammer down, and it looks, for all intents and purposes, that gap could go beyond half a minute for the first time in
12 hours.
12 hours.
I
Dave
just
Robinson
wonder.
Still pushing.
I just wonder with Willis in that stint there, because that was another long one from Adam. Obviously, they'll be in communication with the team. They've got this flexibility now with this final stint of how they want to sort out this 50 minutes worth of fuel that they've got projected to the end of the race. I just wonder there, if they asked Adam, do you feel like you can do another 10, another 20 minutes? He's given them absolutely everything. They've gone, right, let's get a fresh driver in, push now for the remaining amount of time. 28.87 seconds is the gap.
The gap's almost at 30 seconds. Adam Willis, I believe now that's probably potentially his day run. He's put in some very good shifts at the wheel of the 13 Red Racing Kart, and Adam Nichols is currently in it, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Charlie Bingham next unless Adam Nichols double stacks this and does 2 stints. Dave Robinson in the 43. They've got a number of options to go for on the driver line up front. No, certainly one of those. Wouldn't surprise me to see Andrew Delahunty back out in that 43 at some point as one of the PGS guys goes over the curbs at the D.
Well, they can run our 1 hour 15 stints now, so if you say they've just pitted another hour 15, that takes them down to 2 hours 21. Another hour 15 takes them down to 1 hour 6, 1 hour 5.
There is that worry as well. If the temperature comes up, the 1 hour 20s they've been running might shrink to that 1 hour 15.
Yeah.
So I think Red Racing have played this quite well on that front. They are now on the same number of pit stops. Earlier on, there was 30 minutes between the pit stops. Now it was 18 minutes between the 2 stops. They are coming into sync, and we often see this at the end that they pit at a similar time. Adam Nicholl, they're willing that number 13 kart. He used the slipstream of the higher kart and then popped out, and as he did, was just willing the number 13 Red Racing Haas chassis kart down that back straight, willing it on. And will he, in 3.5 hours time, for the final 5 minutes, be willing that kart towards a checkered flag? And what will be, for the first time, or could potentially be for the first time in a long time, a non-MS victory here at the British 24 Hour. Will we start the turn of the decade with a new name on the 24 Hour trophy?
Change in second place in the pro class. Team Keen have got past Offline Motorsport with what looked like a move out on circuit. They're both nearing pit windows. The number 115, Team Keen, back into second place then in pro, but they will need to keep taking care of the kart. They've been burnt in this region of the race before. They've had late calamities with mechanicals in previous years of Team Keen. They're just going across start finish now with the number 77 just behind them. 1 hour 13 since we saw Team Keen in the pits, 1 hour 17 for Offline. this is looking pretty good at the moment for Red Racing. And I just think back through the race, David. You know, in the first third of this race, we had an interview with them where they were a little bit conscious of fuel. And I just want to go back to, I can't quite remember which hour it was in, but I know it was during my first stint between 6 and 10 o'clock. There was a full course yellow that they managed to get a pit stop done on, and they pitted early. They kind of put themselves off sequence a bit. They pitted 45 minutes into a stint, but obviously gained a good amount of time getting a nice clean fuel stop in during that full course yellow. And just with the way this race has been run, the relentless pace that's been put in by this top three, I keep going back to that moment and thinking, is that the crucial bit when we look at all the data, we look at all the analysis? Is it going to be that pit stop there under full course yellow that gives Red Racing the edge?
Yeah, it certainly played into their hands, didn't it? It was in their fuel window, right at the start probably of their window, and it opened it up. We did speak earlier with Adam Nichols, who's currently out in the seat of the 13 Red Racing. Really just wanted an insight, because we were really expecting, as last year, teams to be running 1 hour and 30 stints, and for whatever reason, be it the temperature yesterday, be it the fuel, for whatever reason, the teams just weren't getting the mileage out of the tank. And with the exception of Offline Motorsport, who we know have been employing their fuel-saving strategies in order to minimise their pit stops, everybody else was struggling to get beyond an hour 20. If they were chancing it an hour 25. I mean, we saw yesterday Jack Grinsell was looking down at his fuel tank at an hour and 5.
Yeah.
Just to have a look down that back straight in the darkness as he goes side by side with Rye House, currently third in the clubman class, and Jack Grinsell not taking any prisoners in his pursuit, wanting to keep that 111 car in the mix should anything happen to the leaders.
Just to say as well, the second place battle in Clubman is getting very close again. You mentioned the Rye House Bandits. They are only 4.2 seconds behind the 006 of Modernised Racing, who you imagine that Grinsell is going to close in on in the next couple of laps. There's the number 24 of Modernised Karting, so that's the other team. We see the number 6 in a similar livery out there.
The Lessier have been in again, another one of the owner teams that have had some problems earlier. I think Jordan Beamish has now gone out in that one. Jack Grinsell goes down the inside of the Lockwell Hill car, and it looks to me like Kieran Lambert is back at the wheel of that one. He put a really good stint in the middle of the night, and then that car, the engine was running great, but the side of the engine came away, the pull start broke away, which meant that as soon as they turned the engine off for the fuel stop, they couldn't start it again. They went back out, did a full stint, and they ran out of fuel under a full course yellow on the entry to South Bank Corner, and their driver in the seat at the time, Sam Barry,